Okay. Good evening, guys. My name is James from Varsity Unlimited Tutor. I am a private tutor who specializes in assisting tertiary education students. So what I basically do is that during each semester, I dedicate about 3 weeks of my time to give free tutorials to students that are interested in those tutorials. So these tutorials that I'll be offering, we are going to cover the basics of your study guide. So for economics example, we usually cover the first 2 or 3 units within these free tutorials. So these tutorials we just try to go a little bit deeper into your study material and also try to present you with the examinable questions that you are going to be expecting as the semester proceeds, so that you as the student, you are prepared, that is for your formative assessments and also for your summative assessments. Then after those 3 weeks are done, the students that are still interested in continuing with the private tutorials, they then can talk to me and then we can make arrangements to do the private tutorials for those that are interested. But for the first 2 to 3 weeks, the tutorials will be free for anyone who wants to join those specific tutorials. They will be free. So we cover a module such as Economics 1A, we cover Introduction to Business Management, we cover Informatics, we cover Analytical Techniques, Introduction to Financial Management, Public Admin 1A, Introduction to Project Management, and Business Mathematics. So those are the modules that we cover. So it's not just me, it's not just my face that you'll be seeing. I manage a group of different tutors who offer the same services that I do. But usually I'm the one who you're going to see most of the time in terms of talking to you guys in terms of presentation, so that I am accountable for the activities that everyone else that tutors who is under me does. So if you ever need any sort of service, you can get hold of me. My number is there at the bottom. It's James. That's my number. If you ever need any form of assistance, help, guidelines, and etc., or you just want to ask any questions to do with the degree that you are doing, feel free to send me a message. Feel free to give me a call, of course, during business hours from 8 o'clock up until 9 o'clock in the evening. Usually I am free to try to help you out. But if you try to get me after 9, you might not be that successful because, I still need to spend time with my family. So we are professional tutors. That's what we do. So for what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through your economics. I'm looking at your first unit, some of the aspects in your first unit and some of the aspects in your second unit. So my notes are more aligned to your testable. Remember, you've got the study guide, which your lecturer uses when he's teaching you, but there's also the recommended textbook that he has provided for you. So I've pulled out most of my notes from the recommended textbook, so that as the student, you don't need to now go and buy a textbook and read through the textbook. I have done the reading for you. I'll bring in the information in the class and try to teach you. Right. Then the way that we usually teach is that we do 2 or 3 weeks of teaching, and then we do a revision class where we do past exam papers together, where we do multiple choice and quizzes together, where you can also participate as a student and can engage and see what you are learning and whether it's going to be beneficial to you or not. Right. So that's how we usually do the tutoring. Okay, so now I'm going to start straight away into economics. I'm going to go straight away into understanding economics. Okay. Okay. So what is economics? What do we mean when we talk about economics, right? What do we mean when we talk about economics, right? So economics, we call it a social science. That's what economics is. It's a social science. When something is a social science, it means that you are studying behavior. When something is a social science, it means that you are studying behavior. The focus of your study is human behavior. That's what a social science is, right? So economics is about the study of human behavior. Right? But what type of behavior are we trying to study, or what type of behavior are we trying to understand as economists? Right? So the behavior of people which pertains to economics is what we call the choices that people make. Right? So you and me, we live in an economy, right? We live in an economy, and within that economy, we have to make choices. Right? You might ask, why are we talking about choices, or why do we have to make choices? Right? I'll give you a very simple example. Right? So you get a salary at the end of the month, right? And let's say that your salary is 20,000 Rand. Let's assume that is what your salary is, right? So with this 20,000 Rand that you have got choices that you can make, right? So you want a car, right? You want to buy a car with your 20,000 Rand salary. So in order for you to buy a car, you have to choose between the different brands of the cars, right? But you just don't want a car. You want shelter, you want accommodation. You want food, right? You want clothes. You want entertainment. You want to go on a holiday. Right? Those are the desires or the wants that you want as an individual, right? So, but these desires, these wants, this shelter, this food, all of these different things that I've talked about, you cannot have everything. Remember, you have a limitation in terms of your budget. You have got 20,000 Rand. Right. So because you have 20,000 Rand, you cannot get any car that you want. You cannot get any house that you want. You cannot get every type of entertainment that you want. You have to make a choice, right? You have to make a choice, right? So when you are making this particular when you're making this particular choice, this is where economists come in, because they want to know, how is this specific person making the choices that they are making? Why are they choosing this particular car? Why are they choosing to buy accommodation instead of buying clothes? Why are they choosing to go for food instead of going for entertainment? That's what economics is the study of the choices that people make. And the reason why people make choices is because of limitation, because they do not have everything. So that's what economics is, right? So now you can now go into the technical definition and now start putting, some economic terms in there for it to actually make sense. But in layman's terms, that's what economics is. It's just the study of the choices that people make because of the limitations that they face. But in economics, we don't call them limitations. We call them scarcity. That's what we say in economics. We don't say people are limited, people have got a budget. No. We say resources are scarce. That's what we say in economics. Resources are scarce, right? So what do we mean when we say resources are scarce? We say that when we are producing goods and services in economics, right, we have got a limitation in terms of the resources that are available to produce goods and services. So for example, we cannot produce 1 million tons of wheat because we've got a limited amount of land in South Africa, right? We cannot produce, right, 1 million tons of oranges because we've got a limited amount of labor in South Africa. Right. So these are the resources that we are talking about when we are saying that in economics, we study the choices people make because of the scarcity of resources that exist within an economy. So resources are scarce, and the resources that are scarce, these are your land, these are your labor, these are your entrepreneurial skills, and these are your capital. These are the types of resources that we refer to as scarce resources. Now, we are going to discuss more in terms of what are the different scarce resources are and what they particularly mean in economics, right? But in terms of a proper definition, right, a technical definition of economics, right, we say economics is a social science that studies, like I said, human behavior, right, as it relates to the relationship between two things. The two things are scarcity, right, i.e. resources that are limited. And the second thing is alternative uses, which is the things that we want to consume as individuals, or what we call our wants or our desires within an economy. So that is the definition of what economics is all about. Now, when you study economics, right, you are going to face two particular things, right? You are going to face what we call microeconomics and what we call macroeconomics. During this semester, we are going to do microeconomics, M-I, microeconomics. And then in the next semester, when we do economics 1B, we are going to do macroeconomics, right? Which is economics 1B. So you need to know what is the difference between the two, because they are typical exam questions that come through and ask you, is this item falling under microeconomics or is this item falling under macroeconomics? You will see this when we do revision, that there are some typical exam questions that come in under that particular bracket, right? So let's start with the one that we are studying this semester, which is microeconomics. So microeconomics, MIC, that's what I'm talking about. So microeconomics, we are looking at the individual or the group of people at an individual level. What do I mean by that? I'm saying I am looking at the choices that James is making, James as an individual, or I'm looking at the choices that Zanele is making as an individual, right? Or I am looking at the choices that the family that James has is making, or I'm looking at the choices that the people in Benoni are having at a particular point in time. So microeconomics is the study of the actions of particular people or particular groups of people within an economy. So you will notice that in microeconomics, we are going to look at the theory of the consumer, right, which is demand and supply. And then we are going to look at the theory of the market or the theory of the company, which is your market structures, because we are looking at individual decision-making that is happening within an economy, right? So for an example of microeconomics is when I say that if the price of tomatoes goes up, I will demand less tomatoes. That's microeconomics. Or another example is if I say that the price of tomatoes is increased by 15 cents or by 15 rand. That's microeconomics, because I'm looking at one individual item or one small group of items. But in the second semester, we are going to do macroeconomics. Now, under macroeconomics, MAC, we are now looking at broader level economics. We're looking at a government type of economics, where we are now looking at issues of economic growth, issues of unemployment in South Africa, issues of inflation rate in South Africa, etc. We are now looking at the broader part of economics. We are now ignoring the individuals and looking at the whole of the South African economy as a whole. Right. So that distinction is very, very important. Even if you check, I believe in your study guide, you have got even a table. This is the table that I believe that is in your study guide that shows you the different items that fall under micro and the different items that fall under macro. Like I said, this is the typical exam question that you need to understand as the student. Right. Second distinction, when we are studying economics also, we are going to see that there are also economics which is called positive and economics which is called normative. You also need to know as a student the difference between the two, because again, it's a typical exam question that you are going to face, where you are going to be asked what is the difference between positive economics and normative economics, right? Positive economics, you're looking at facts, right? If I tell you that currently the unemployment rate in South Africa is 36%, it means that someone went and did the mathematics. Someone went and counted the people that are unemployed. So this is a fact. So that's positive economics. Or if I tell you, according to economic theory, if the price of a product increases, the demand for that product will go down. That is a fact. So that is positive economics. But when we look at normative economics, again, we're now looking at something that someone is thinking, but no longer a fact. So for example, if I say, I believe the South African government should give everyone in South Africa 1,000 rand each and every month to help us out because things are tough. That is an idea that I have. That is a recommendation that is I'm making. That is a judgment of what I believe can work or cannot work. So that is no longer positive economics, but that is now normative economics, because it is no a fact, but something that I am recommending or something that I believe ought to be within that specific what? Within that specific economy. Right. So that gives us, that's basically, those are the definitions of economics. Now, what I want to do is I want to go into the different terminology that we need to understand. Because as we go deeper into the different units, you will notice that our speed will start to increase. So as our speed increases, I want you guys to understand the terms or the language that I'll be speaking, because I'll be using a lot of these terms. I'll be talking about goods and services. I'll be talking about public goods, economic goods, wants, demand, needs, scarcity, opportunity cost, and etc. I need you to at least understand the terms. So what I'm just basically doing here, I'm defining and explaining some terms for you so that when we start through the study guide on the much difficult topics, you have a thorough understanding of what we are talking about. So let's look at our next thing, right? Unlimited ones. What is in unlimited ones? So a few minutes from now, we are going to talk about what we call the economic problem. And I'm going to tell you what the economic problem is, where I say the economic problem relates to the relationship between unlimited ones and scarcity. And you're going to ask me, what is unlimited ones? This is the definition of unlimited ones. So an individual, when they are consuming within an economy, there are three things that can happen. An individual can want something, an individual can need something, or an individual can demand something. Again, this is an exam question that you might get where they can try to ask you, so is this demand or is this a want or is this a need? Right? So pay attention, right? So a want is an unlimited desire, right? I want a Ferrari. I want a Bugatti. I want a Porsche. I want a Mercedes. I want a BMW. It's an unlimited desire that I have as an individual. A need is a necessity, right? I need food, right? I need transportation. For me to move from point A to point B, I need transportation. It does not matter how the transportation comes, but I need it. Whereas a want is an unlimited desire, a desire that is not backed by any limitation. Right. Then demand now, which is very, very important because I believe this is your chapter 4, if I'm not mistaken. Demand is where you combine the want of an individual, the unlimited desire, and the ability, i.e. the cash, the rands, the ability of the individual to purchase the product. So if someone wants something and someone is able, then we say that there is demand within economics. Right. So unlimited wants is just an unlimited desire that a particular person have over a particular product, particular good, or particular service that is in existence. That's number one. Definition number 2, scarcity. Right? Scarcity, I've already talked about this one. Scarcity is where we say there are limitations. Within any economy, there are resources. For example, land in South Africa. So there is a limited amount of land in South Africa. So because of the limitation of land in South Africa, we say that there is scarcity. If you go to, I believe it's Singapore, if I'm not mistaken, they are trying to build cities within the sea, i.e. they are creating artificial islands for them to create extra land because they've run out of land within their economy. So that's what scarcity means. Or labor. There are 65 to 75 million South Africans. They are not more than that. And if we talk about the workforce, maybe there's around 35 million South Africans that can what? That can work, right? So that's scarcity. We are saying that there is a limitation in the amount of labor that is available within the economy. That's scarcity, right? Then opportunity cost, right? Now, opportunity cost is a very interesting concept. Now, because of scarcity, right? Because of scarcity or because of limitation of resources, we have to make choices. We cannot produce everything. If you have land as a farmer, let's say that you've got 5 hectares of land, you have to decide, should I grow potatoes on my land or should I what? Should I grow tomatoes on my land? If you decide to grow potatoes on your land, it means that you have forgone or you have sacrificed the production of tomatoes. So that's what opportunity cost is. Opportunity cost is the foregone alternative when you have made a choice, right? In economics, we technically define it as the value of the next best alternative foregone. That definition is very important because your lecturer will give you questions that are quite confusing when it comes to calculations, right? But opportunity cost in practicality, it is just the foregone alternative. If you make a choice, if you go into incredible connection, and you've got 3,000 rand, right? And when you got there, you said, oh, I want to buy some gadgets for myself. I want to buy a cell phone. I want to buy a tablet. I want to buy, let's say a cell phone and a tablet. And then you go there and they tell you, oh, the cell phone is 3,000 rand and the tablet is 3,000 rand. Of course, you're going to choose one thing. So if you choose the cell phone, then the tablet becomes the foregone alternative. It becomes the foregone alternative of what you're trying to decide on, right? So, but when we get to economics, it gets even more complicated. Let me give you an example here of something that sometimes gets quite a little bit complicated for students. Okay, just give me a minute. I want to give you an example here. Okay. Okay. So let's assume that you can, this is a typical, I've seen your lecturer asking this question several times, right? Let's assume that you've got two choices, right? Choice number one, right, is you can go to watch soccer. You can go to a soccer game, right? You can go to watch soccer, right? You can go to watch soccer, right? And enjoy yourself watching the what? Watching the soccer, right? And if you go to watch soccer, right, you are saying that, oh, if I go to watch soccer, I have to pay 700 rand. If I go and watch soccer, I have to pay 700 rand. And then your other alternative is I can go to work, right? So let's say soccer is 3 hours, right? It's a 3-hour game, right? You can go to work. If you go to work, let's assume that you get 500 rand an hour, right? So option number 2, you go to work and get 500 rand an hour, right? You go to work and get 500 rand an hour, right? So in economics, when we now start calculating issues of opportunity, this is where I said it can get confusing. When you start working opportunity cost, if you are not working it out, you can say, oh, if I choose to go watch soccer, right, the alternative, right, that I have forgone is going to work. So my opportunity cost is going to work. So you are going to assume that your opportunity cost is 500 multiplied by the 3 hours that you didn't work, which is 1,500. That's what your assumption is going to be, which is very correct. But in economics, we are saying you didn't just lose this 1.5. Because remember, if you go and watch soccer, although you have enjoyed the soccer practice that you watched, you also had to pay 700 rand to watch that soccer. So this 700 rand that you had to pay, it's something that you have also forgone. So you have to go and add it on this 1.5, and then you end up with 2.2 as being your opportunity cost. The 2.2 money that you lost being the opportunity cost. So you will notice that there will be two types of questions in economics that you will face in terms of opportunity cost. Question number one will be straightforward. The lecturer will tell you this person can either buy some jeans or they can buy a cell phone. They have chosen to buy a cell phone. What is your opportunity cost? And you are going to say it is the jean. The second type of question is the lecturer is going to give you some numbers and is going to tell you this person can do this or do this. If they do this, they have to pay this amount of money. If they do this, they will earn this amount of money. What is the opportunity cost? Which means you now have to calculate the actual activity, right, that they lost, plus any additional expenses that they had to incur on the activity that they have done. And that will be your opportunity cost. So again, like I said, this is a typical exam question that I've seen a lot of students struggle with. When we do revision, I think maybe next week but one, when we do revision, please pay attention especially to those sections with our opportunity cost calculations, because I've seen a lot of students struggle with that. So again, we're still on definitions, right? The next important definition that I would want to talk about is the difference between economic goods and free goods, right? Whenever I say goods in economics, I refer to economic goods. Please take note of that. Whenever I say goods in economics or goods and services in economics, I am referring to economic goods. Economic goods refers to either a good or a service where you have to pay for it. So if I'm talking about a good and I say bread, it means that you have to pay for the bread, right? But there is something in economics that we also call a free good. A free good, you don't have to pay for it, and it is abundant, i.e. there is no scarcity. So in economics, we don't try to solve the problem of free goods because they are abundant. So we don't try to solve them, but rather we try to solve the issue of economic goods. But when we get into our second semester, we are also going to talk about public goods. Public goods are economic goods that you don't pay for. So for example, the police service, you don't directly pay for the police in South Africa, but through your tax, the tax that you pay at the end of the month when you get your salary, that goes and pays for the police, that goes and pays for the soldiers, that goes and pays for the roads and etc. Right? So although you don't directly pay for it, indirectly you pay for public goods. So that's another distinction. But this semester, don't need to worry about public goods. We'll talk about them in the second semester. Then lastly, on definitions. So this is the last part on definitions before we actually talk about economics, right? So I say that there is scarcity, and I say that there is scarcity of resources. So let's talk about what is a resource, right? So in economics, we call them resources, or we call them factors of production. So there is a production that is going to happen. For you to have a laptop, or for you to have bread, right? Or for you to have a house, there is a production that is to take place. The business is the one that produces. You as an individual, you are the one that consumes. We are going to do this when we do the circular flow of income, right? But that production that takes place, it needs some inputs. So what are the inputs of the production process? These are what we call resources, or these are what we call the factors of production within economics. So the factors of production within economics include land, capital, labor, and entrepreneurial skills, right? So land refers to any natural resource that is available within South Africa, right? So natural resource, we are referring to the actual land itself that we can do some farming, that we can put our buildings on, right? Or it also refers to the forests that are in South Africa, the various livestock, the cattle, the pigs, the kudus that are in South Africa, the wind, remember we do solar farming, wind turbines, the water, the lakes, the dams that we have in South Africa, all of that is considered under land because these are natural resources that we have. And land is considered a primary factor of production because it is not man-made. It's a primary factor of production. You cannot do anything without land, right? Second thing is labor. When we talk about labor, we are talking about you and me, our contribution towards society in terms of physically being at the workplace, lifting things up, making sure that you are doing whatever you're doing at the workplace. Or number two, our intellectual capacity at the workplace, whether you be an engineer, an architect, an actuarial scientist, whatever it is that you are, right? So that's labor. So these two are the primary factors of production. Right? You cannot do anything without them. Right? Then there are secondary factors of production, which includes what we call economic capital. Now your lecturer has got a typical exam question that he likes here to confuse you. So there is a difference between economic capital and financial capital. There is a very, very big difference between the two, economic capital and financial capital. Right? Economic capital is anything that is man-made, right? That is used in the production process. So for example, in order for me to produce some oranges, right? I am going to need a planter, right? I'm going to need a tractor to till the land, right? I'm going to need a combine harvester to harvest the oranges when they are done. So that's capital, that's economic capital. It's a man-made thing that I am using in my production process. If I am an engineer and I use a laptop to create my plans of the roads and whatnot, that laptop is economic capital. If I am a teacher and I use some chalks and whatnot, right, for my boards and etc., those chalks and whatnot that I use are economic capital. So economic capital is anything that is man-made. So this means that money is not a factor of production. Take note of that. Money is not a factor. That's a typical exam question that your lecturer always brings forward. Money is not a factor of production. Right? So whenever you've got a list of factors of production, if there is money or if there is financial capital, remove it. It is not a factor of production. Rather, we need economic capital. Right? Then lastly, we've got entrepreneurial ability. Right? Entrepreneurial ability, right, refers to the ability of an individual to create a business. Right? So if someone takes land, takes labor, and takes capital, and creates a sustainable business that functions within South Africa, we call them an entrepreneur. And within the production process, we need people that have got those skills. If we do not have entrepreneurs, then our economy is not going to function. So entrepreneurial skills is also a factor of production. So this brings me to the end of the definition. Now I want to talk about the economic problem. But before I talk about the economic problem, are there any questions on what I have shared so far before I talk about the economic problem? Are there any questions, or all is clear on what I've shared so far?
Very clear. Thank you, James.
All right. Sure. If everything is clear, then that's good. All right.
Yes.
All right. Wonderful. So what is the economy? Now we are now talking about economics now. What we did in the past, we're just giving you snippets so that you understand. Now we are now talking about economics, right? So everything that we're going to study from unit number 1 up to unit number 10, we are going to be trying to solve this problem. This is the problem that we'll be trying to solve, right? The economic problem. The economic problem is when we say in an economy, there is limited resources and there are unlimited ones. There is limited land, there is limited labor, there is limited natural resources, there is limited capital, but people want everything. People want all different types of cars. People want all different types of houses. People want all different types of foods. So because there is limitation in terms of the resources and unlimited wants or unlimited desires, there is a mismatch between the two, right? There is a mismatch between the resources and the needs or the wants that people have. So how do we allocate resources efficiently between all the different things that people want? For us to be able to allocate resources efficiently, we are going to ask every economic agent or every person in South Africa 3 questions, right? Typical exam questions. What are the 3 economic questions? We are going to ask them, what should we produce in South Africa, right? We are going to ask them, how should we produce as South Africans? And then we are going to ask them, for whom are we producing, or how do we distribute what we have produced within South Africa, right? So the question of what to produce, right? We are saying on the different types of products, right? So we can produce cars in South Africa. We can produce computers in South Africa. We can produce medicine in South Africa. We can produce agricultural products. We can produce minerals such as gold in South Africa. Right? We can produce fish. We can go and do fishing in South Africa. Right? But we have to ask ourselves as an economy, should we really focus on fishing? Is that really our strongest point? Should we focus maybe on agriculture, do wheat and fruits and mangoes and whatnot? Or should we do cars, focus on cars, or maybe on medicine? Or maybe we want to produce cell phones. So what should we produce? So it's about the choice of the basket of goods or commodities that South Africa as an economy should produce, or that a company that has been asked should produce at any point in time. So that's what to produce, right? How to produce. Now we're saying that you have decided that I want to produce in South Africa wheat. That's what we decided as South Africans. You know what? We want to produce wheat as South Africans. How do we produce it? There are different options that we have to produce wheat. We can either use 5 tractors, 3 combine harvesters, and 3 drivers and produce our wheat. Or maybe we just use 1 tractor, 1 combine harvester, 1 driver, and 22 laborers within our farm. How do we combine the 4 factors of production in order for us to produce what we want to produce, right? So when we talk about that, even the question then comes in, what type of technology, which sometimes is called the 5th factor of production, right? What type of technology do we use when we are producing within a what? Within an economy? What type of technology should we use when we're doing this production? So all of this is how to produce. How do we combine the factors of production? How much land, capital, entrepreneurial skills do we need? What type of technology should we use? Right. So that's how to what? How to produce, right? Then the 3rd question is for whom to produce. That's the 3rd question. For whom to produce, right? For whom to produce, we're talking about distribution. How do I distribute the resources that I have produced, right? If I produce 1,000 tons of wheat, how do I distribute it? Do I say every South African is going to get 3 kgs of wheat? Or do I say those that want wheat, come and get wheat? Or do I put it in a shop and put a price? If I put a price, what is going to be the price? Is it going to be 10 rand per kg, 15 rand per kg? So that's for whom to produce. How do we distribute what we have produced as an economy? So those are the 3 economic questions. Now, when you answer these 3 economic questions, right, you will notice that every economy in the world is created in a way to answer those 3 economic questions. Now, these are now extra notes that I'm giving you. I don't think this is directly in your study guide, but these are extra notes that will help you understand better in terms of how economies function. So maybe for like 2-3 minutes, I'll just talk about this, right? So there are different types of economies that exist, right? South Africa, the economy of South Africa and the economy of China, they work differently. The economy of South Africa and the economy of North Korea, they work differently. The way they are structured is answering those 3 questions of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom do we produce, right? So the traditional economy, this no longer exists. This was done in the long time ago when we had the feeder system and farming, way of community farming, etc. But we don't talk about it anymore because it is long gone, no longer exists. The command economy, this was popular in the 1970s, right? The command economy is a centralized economy. Nowadays, I think there are just like 2 or 3 countries that still has this. I think maybe Cuba, maybe North Korea. China is a little bit of a command economy, but it's no longer really full. It's now more on a mixed economy. We can't really put it under command, right? But mainly, I think Cuba and North Korea, they are still the ones that I still know that are a bit on the command side. So a command economy is whereby the politicians create a central authority that makes decisions for everyone. They sit down at the beginning of the year and they decide. So this year, we want to produce 50,000 cars for the country. We want to produce 2 million hectares of wheat for the country. We want to produce 33,000 liters of milk for the country. They literally make decisions like that as a central authority. And then when it comes to distribution, they ration. Each and every person gets a car. Each and every person gets a house after every 10 years. Each and every person gets how many liters of food and whatnot. That's a command economy, right? Then there is, on the other side, there's what is called a market economy. A market economy is where there is no central governing authority in terms of the market. So if you look at markets such as the UK, such as USA, Australia, these are market economies, where the government does not decide anything about the market. They decide everything else, but the market they don't touch. Right? You as people, you as businesses, you as consumers, because of your self-interest and your need to maximize your utility, you make decisions on your own. You don't buy things that you don't need, so companies don't produce things that are not being bought. So because of what is called self-interest and utility maximization, we see that there is what is called an invisible hand of the market that then makes the decisions within that market. It's not made by one individual, but it's made by the forces, what we call free market forces, of demand and supply, which is your unit number 4, which are going to then. Then the most popular economy is the mixed economy, which is what South Africa is. A mixed economy is an economy where there is a market, but the government intervenes within that market. The government comes into the market every once in a while and says that, look, guys, if you're selling wheat, you cannot sell your wheat for more than 500 Rand a ton. If you are selling your labor, you cannot be paid less than 22 Rand an hour. So the government comes in and intervenes into the mechanisms of how the system works. So that's a market economy that has got some command situations inside. So it's called a mixed economy. Right. So those are the major economies that you will find within South Africa. Now, when we meet next time, I believe I've got another lesson tomorrow. I would encourage you to join tomorrow for the lesson that I have tomorrow. We are going to be talking about the circular flow of income, right? I've got another lesson tomorrow. And then after tomorrow, I'll be meeting the students every Sunday evening at 7 p.m., right? I'll be meeting the students every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. But please, if you can attend again tomorrow, because we'll be talking about issues of the production possibility curve, and also maybe the circular flow of income. Then I am going to come to your questions. Don't worry. I'm going to come to your questions. I just want to finish something here. And then after we are done with those, then we are going to do past exam papers on the units that we've covered. That is unit number 1 up to unit number 3. So you can see how detailed we will do the things. So I hope this was beneficial to you. Now, questions. Let's take some questions. Are there any questions? Yes, Juliet?
Well, for me, it's not really a question, James. I just want, at the end of the session, can you please share the link for tomorrow? Because your lessons were very informative and interesting. So I would like to also join the lesson for tomorrow.
All right, no problem. I'll share the link for tomorrow. So it will be 7 p.m. tomorrow. I'll share the link.
Yes.
7 p.m.
Thank you so much.
I'll share the link.
Okay,
so we are just continuing from where we left off. We're just continuing from where we left off. Okay?
From where we left off today, right?
Yes, from where we left off today.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So, all right. Questions? Any other questions for me?
Hi, James. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm asking with regards to the other modules, not this one exactly. So how are these tutorials going to be structured? Because I'm hearing you say that tomorrow we're going to do economics again, but tomorrow morning we have informatics, and in my mind, like, it makes sense to have an informatics seminar, then have the tutorial. So how do you generally structure them so that we can make sense?
No, it's fine. I'll explain. So what we do is we've got just give me a second here. I just want to open it here, but I'll share this in the group. Where is it now? Okay, we have a timetable for our tutorials that I'm going to share for those of you that are interested. I'm just trying to open it right now so that I can just highlight a couple of the issues that are there. Okay, so today was just an introduction class, but from tomorrow, every Sunday at 7 p.m., we'll be meeting for economics. Every Sunday at 7 p.m., we'll be meeting for economics, right? And then every Monday at 7 p.m., we'll be meeting for introduction to business management, right? And then also for those that are doing public admin, we usually meet on Mondays for public admin, right? And then every Tuesday at 7 p.m., we'll be meeting for informatics. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m., it will be informatics. And also those that do project management will be meeting for project management at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, right? Then on Wednesdays, we do digital transformation at 7 p.m. Digital transformation Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And then Thursdays, we do analytical techniques, some workings for analytical techniques on Thursday, 7 p.m. And then on Saturdays, that is next Saturday going forward, we'll be doing business mathematics. On Saturdays, we'll be doing business mathematics on Saturdays. Then, there's something here, where is it? But the time for business mathematics, it will most likely be 6 p.m. instead of 7, but I'll confirm in the groups, right? Then also for those that are doing financial management, there will be lectures on Sunday at 5 for financial management. Those that do financial management, there will be lectures on Sunday at 5 p.m. So those are the lessons that we assist with, right? So like I said, the lessons are going to be free for 2 to 3 weeks, just so that you know who you're dealing with, right? Because of course, there are scammers out there, there are people that want to steal your money and whatnot. So they are there to help you see who I'm dealing with, and if this service is actually a genuine service that is available. Then after those 3 weeks, if you're not interested in the service, it's fine with me. If you're interested in the service, then we can make some deals, you can make some installments and whatnot, and then we can work together as a team. But for the next 2 to 3 weeks, don't worry, the service will be for free. We'll just be introducing the study guides, the study modules, talking about things here and there, and see how we can help each other out. I hope you answered. Next question.
How much are your fees, James?
Okay.
How are they structured?
Okay. So the fees is 800 Rand for each module that I assist with. It's 800 Rand for each module. The 800 Rand includes the lessons that we do together. It includes the exam preparation because we are going to do past exam papers together and etc. towards the exam. It includes one-on-one help with the assignments. So you guys have got 2 assignments in each module. You've got formative assessment number 1 and formative assessment number 2. I guarantee you will get 100%. It's one-on-one assistance. It means you and me, we do it together, the assignment, so that you get 100% on it. So it includes one-on-one assistance with the assignment. And then in terms of payments, these are 800 Rand. You can pay it in installments. You can pay it if you want to pay over 3 months, that's up to you. If you want 2 months, that's up to you. If you want 4 months, I'm very amicable. We can just discuss. I usually prefer discussing one-on-one depending on your situation that you have. But it's 800 Rand for the module that you are interested in. You don't have to take everything. You can just say, look, I struggle with economics. I just want economics. You take economics. If you would say, I want analytical techniques, you just take that. Or you say, I don't know programming. I want informatics. You just take informatics. That's basically it. But like I said, the first 3 or 4 lessons are free. They allow you to assess whether you actually will benefit from the lecture or you won't benefit from it, so that you don't pay if you are not interested, or if you see that I don't like this, the way this guy teaches, it's not going to benefit me. Okay. Any other questions?
So it's 800.
Hi, James.
Oh.
No, go ahead.
Thanks, Sia. So the 800 Rand is for each module. Yes. So you can maybe, let's say there's 4 now for 4, and then I pay for 4. So it will be just for the first semester, and then second semester I need to pay again for those modules for the second semester, assistance with assessment and so forth.
Yes.
Okay.
And usually what I do, like at the beginning, like I've done right now, at the beginning of the semester, I'll come back, I'll list the subjects, because we don't do all of the subjects. So I'll list the subjects that I'm able to help you with. And then from those subjects, if you're interested, you can pick. That's what we usually do.
Okay. Thank you so much, James. Thanks, Sia, for giving me the go ahead as well.
Okay, Sia, you've got a question?
So, James, thank you so much for clarifying about the fees, because I was worried about that. But to be honest, they're very reasonable. My other question is about your team. I heard you talk about your team earlier. So before I sign up for the tutorials, I'd like to know if you have big enough team to help each of us in case we need one-on-ones. At the same time, describe your team to us and how you guys generally work.
Okay, so what we do, right? So remember what I said, the tutorials themselves, are group tutorials. They are not one-on-one tutorials. Let me be clear about that. The tutorials are group tutorials. The one-on-one comes to the assignment part, the quiz part. When you do your quiz, that's when you get one-on-one assistance with the quiz. Now, the general idea with the quiz is 1 hour long. Right? That's generally. And I'm not looking at getting a class of 1 million students here. I'm not really interested in having a lot of numbers. If I can get, 30 students, that's fine with me. At the end of the day. And 30 students are manageable, because the quiz is open for if I'm not mistaken, it's 3 weeks. So it means that even within those 3 weeks, if I can dedicate time to meet 2 students or 3 students per day, we can finish off on the what? On the quiz. And then there are other ways of how we assist in terms of the one-on-one on the assignments. Sometimes what we do is instead of doing it one-on-one, I can even meet the students in a class setup like this. We go through all of the questions together, and then you students go and what? And attempt. While you're attempting, if you get stuck, you give me a call. James, I'm stuck. I'm doing the attempt. There's this question that we did not do together. Can you help me with it? I help you with it. So there are a lot of options that we can do in terms of the assessments part for the assignments that you are going to do in terms of the one-on-one. So I know that you will be covered for that one. You don't need to what? You don't need to what? We'll discuss some of the nitty-gritties. I don't want to discuss them on a recorded platform, so I'm not going to say too much about that, right? Then the second part of your question is on the size of my team, right? So in terms of the size of my team, of all of the subjects that I listed here, this is something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have about, I think you'll be meeting about 6 different types of tutors. Personally, I'll be taking 2 modules. I'll be taking this economics, and I'll be taking financial management, because those are my areas of expertise. But I have people who are also expertise in programming, so they will take programming. I've got someone who's an expert at management, so they will take management, right? So the way they teach will basically be like me, but of course, we're different people. You cannot expect them to be the same exactly like how I teach. But that is why the free lessons are there, so that you meet the person before you make payment. Once you meet them, if you're happy, then you make your payment. If you're not happy, then you don't make it. I like students to actually see the people first before they make the payment. Then all of the payments will be going into one account. The Varsity Unlimited, because it's a company setup, the Varsity Unlimited tutors. That's where all of the payment, then I'll allocate. This was for economics, this was for this module, and whatnot. I hope I've answered you. I don't know if I've answered you, Sia.
Yeah, you did. Thank you. Thanks, James.
Okay, sharp. Any other
James,
questions?
can I ask? Yeah. Sorry, can I ask? Thanks. Thanks, ladies, for the questions. I think you responded to some of the ones I wanted, but related to, I know somebody else also wants to know the dates, right? So I'm sure not all of us are doing maybe the same module.
Yes,
so
yes.
For example, I know project management and business management. Okay, so you don't do digital. If you have somebody that you know, maybe that is as an extra other thing.
We do digital transformation.
Okay, you didn't list it.
Okay, all right. It's on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. It's on Wednesday.
Yeah, okay, because they say, sure. So will you send it to us here or in the group? Because obviously in the groups, yeah, there's whatever other stories, but will you send us all the timetables here in this group so that we can pick up? And we're saying for all of these ones, we're just going to see you through, Sibona, whether we you know, how we, whether we like the way you tutor, and then in 3 weeks for all the programs. Is that what you're saying for all of them?
Yes.
So for an example, all the 4. Okay, cool, sure. Okay, thanks. But I think my interest is, where are you gonna send it? Where are you gonna send us the timetable so that we don't forget? Like, you know, it was easier now. You've already sent us the link. Will you send us the link for all of the others that are coming? Management and the rest. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, I'll do that. So I'll send it in the economic groups. I know I closed the group a few minutes ago for the class. I'm gonna keep it closed maybe until tomorrow, because there was a lot of whatever that was happening in that particular group. But I'll send the information in that particular group, and I'll leave it closed for now. I'll probably open it maybe on Monday or on tomorrow evening after everything has just died down, because there was just a lot of noise that was happening in the group. So I'll send in the group so that everyone is aware of the timetables and whatnot. But if you don't get the information, you have my numbers, 071-3000-634. Feel free to message me. Then also, for those that are really interested in these classes, we create a separate group. We don't usually use the main group. The main group is there so that students can chat, students can talk and discuss together and whatnot. It's just that I don't know what happened today, why people were shouting at each other. But that's the reason for the main group. But we usually create a separate group for those that are actually interested. It's just that for you to get the people that are interested, you need to go to the main group. But we'll create a separate group for those that are interested. So if you are really interested, you can even message me, James, add me to that group for the private tutorials, and then I'll add you to the group for the private tutorials, so that we don't have a lot of messages that are coming through for the groups. Any other questions?
Just please take note of the comment. Somebody has requested that you please add them in the group so that they can get the information going forward. Just
all right. I'll do that. All right. Let's see on the chat. Is there anything
take note
else?
of it.
All right. I don't think there's anything else. It's fine. So I'll send the timetable. I'll also send the video. This video, I'm going to upload it to my YouTube channel, and I'll send again this video so that even if you missed the class or if there were certain things that were not clear, you can call them. And I'll also send my notes, the lecture notes that we have. I'll also send them to the group. All right. Thank you guys for coming in.
Hi, James, before you close.
Okay.
Hi, James.
Yes.
So this group you're talking about is the one that was open during the class where you, for now, you'll be posting information on, or is there another group?
Sorry, repeat the question. I didn't get you.
The group that you will be posting information for all the classes for now, you will use the economics group that was open earlier on?
Yes.
Or you?
Yes. I'll post in the economics group that was open earlier on. But however, like I said, I will create a separate group for those that really want the classes so that there's somewhere where they can really discuss freely without, traumatizing each other in the other group.
Okay. Sorry, I've left my number on the chat.
Okay, it's fine. If you want, you can just post your number there. I will make sure that you are added to the other group. Then also, you have my WhatsApp. You can just also WhatsApp me. If I don't add you to the group, feel free to WhatsApp me. I'll add you to the other group.
And your number is?
071 3000 634. 071 3000
634.
Yes, 071.
That's phone number?
The one at the bottom, 071 3000 634. The one that says James at the bottom there.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. All right, guys. I think we are done for today. We shall see each other tomorrow at 7 p.m. We shall see each other tomorrow at 7 p.m. Sure.